Hey guys, it's Sadie, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to a new speed build. If you're new here, I create fantasy stuff, replica and new objects in The Sims 4. And this time I built a little village on a table inspired by an artwork by the amazing artist Kemineko. This is a 40 by 30 residential lot available on the gallery without CC, and as always I will use the tool mod by Twisted Mexi to rotate and align objects. But without further ado, let's get into building. As I mentioned already, this artwork of a beautiful tabletop village inspired me, and so the first thing I had to focus on was to create a table as foundation. And I should have started with the most important detail, probably, but I didn't and went right into placing buildings at my first attempt, but yeah, it didn't really work out. The stuff you see floating in the background are remainings of the first try. So let's start building that table foundation. And who would have thought it all starts with an oversized table? I had a few options, but I decided on the cats and dogs side table as it had the best fitting details. I placed the table on the basement so that it would not block paths on the level above. Continuing to add some drawers, I placed two resized side tables from the base game and then opened one of them up by building a drawer with walls. I played around with the size and wallpaper and then replaced the front wall with a fake wall, made out of cutting boards. As a knob for the drawer, I used a wall decal from the Discover University pack, and to make both drawers look the same, I removed the base game side table and cloned the fake wall with T.O.O.L. So far I was satisfied and moved on to the actual foundation. Because I placed the table on the basement, I was able to raise up a foundation that would be functional and look like a table surface at the same time. Adjusting some heights so everything would line up before I removed all the real walls on the drawers and placed fake ones instead, so I could easily connect both levels without any errors. I used brown colors on the foundation and the flooring so that all would look like part of the table. The only two important things if you want to make your own table foundation build are to place the table in the basement and to place it so that your flooring remains visible. T.O.O.L should make it easy to line everything up. With the base done, I continued to play around on the first level by making a hole in the middle and filling up the inside with terrain instead of foundation. This allowed me to terrainscape on my table, and I honestly was so inspired by this concept that I almost started a new build. I kinda had to think of bonsai trees and some pictures I saw of mini tree houses in them, but I could resist and continued on this one. So far all we see from the table really was the surface, but I really wanted to make the legs visible as well, and so I drew a room on the basement and removed the ceiling on the first floor. This would open up the floor and show off the table a bit better, but it also removed the landscaping. To my surprise, I was able to put it back in pretty easily by building another room in the basement as big as the foundation on top, and then not deleting the ceiling of this room as before, but deleting the walls of it. As it now had the floor level to attach on, my landscaping came back in a few seconds, and after some adjustments to the drawers, I started on the actual buildings. There were many, but one particular detail in the reference that made me immediately fall in love with it, and it was this tiny house with a book foundation. No brainer that I started with that one. I first resized some Realm of Magic books and then created a levitating room by placing two levels and removing the bottom one, kinda similar to how you would build functional bridges. This way I could place the Realm of Magic books underneath while still having a fully functional room on top. I worked on the book foundation until it looked cute and then added some bookmarks with different items from the debug, such as playing cards from Outdoor Retreat and a note from Get to Work. A few columns and a roof before moving on to the tower and the walls on the right side. For that I simply placed two octagonal rooms and then placed some jungle adventure archways in the basement, and then I used T.O.O.L to elevate, clone and rotate the arcs to create a curve with them. I placed a roof on top of the tower as well as some stairs on the left building using a shelf, and then moved on to the next building. Pretty straightforward, I placed 3 levels and a crooked roof on top, using 2 half-gabled roofs that I bent in different angles. And just as straightforward was the next building on the right side, which would connect to the jungle adventure arcs. Behind these arcs I also drew a wall before I worked on the highest level of the building on the back. I started with simple rectangular rooms that I didn't connect to the foundation or any other rooms, so I would be able to raise them up separately. I adjusted shapes and sizes until I liked it and connected the two buildings with a piece of foundation, on which I placed a door on the bottom. Going back to the right side, I started to create a river using this debug thing from Get to Work, as well as a waterfall from Discover University, which will look cuter once I framed it with some rocks, I promise. I first checked on the gallery thumbnail to make sure everything looks pretty, and then I continued with more details found in my reference. I had to create a clock tower and did so by placing an oversized clock and some debug walls, and then moved on to the other building. In my reference, this building had this beautiful roofing that would just not translate well into the game. I tried really hard, but ultimately decided that I'll go with normal roofing and the style of the other buildings. I then added columns and friezes to all the builds and played around with wallpapers and roofing colors. I also created the front gate using the Jungle Adventure Archway, a debug train track from Cats and Dogs or Discover University, can't recall exactly, as well as some stone fence parts, but I guess half of that footage got lost somewhere. Anyways, I added more details to the buildings, more books, and then went on to roof the clock tower, with a little workaround. Basically, you place disconnected levels and then line them up with the height you need your roofing on, remove the levels underneath, which will then allow you to freely place roofing on any height you want. I will leave a link to a tutorial by my friend Kate in the description box because she is so much better at explaining things. Meanwhile, I will continue with more landscaping and using mostly snowy escape items. I just love the plants and rocks that came with this debug, and it honestly often feels like I don't use any other items anymore. If you're on Snowy Escape and haven't done it yet, definitely take a deep dive into its debug, because it's easily the best for landscaping in my humble opinion. I let you enjoy this decorating part with a bit of chill music and then tune in again once we switch lots. Super excited for that, I hope you'll enjoy. So here I am again, and here we are in a new setting, new light and a whole new vibe if you ask me. I moved the lot to Glimmerbrook, where I continued with landscaping. starting out with another Discover University waterfall, followed by a book stack covering up part of the basement wall. I also placed one book underneath the waterfall and added some more plants on the front. After some struggle, I was able to connect the two buildings on different levels with a ladder, and then I placed a giant window. Questionable decision for sure, but I thought it somewhat brings out the scale of it. I don't know, I think it looks cute and I hope you do too, but in case you don't, the hammer tool should do the trick. Moving on to more landscaping, which I will again let you enjoy with some background music until it's time to add more details to the buildings. Another lovely detail from the artwork that I wanted to recreate were the roof decorations on some of the houses. I made them using a base game awning that I rotated and only used the backside of it, followed by some shelves that I also rotate to create the pattern I wanted. I used the same items to create another pattern on the house on the right side, and then I used stone benches from the Romantic Garden pack and the Get Together shelves to create decorations for the back part of the roof. And the last bit of the video, which is mostly decorating, will again be quiet with a bit of background music. We'll be back once it's time for the interior tour. And here we are inside the building. This is a residential lot on 40 by 30 tiles without CC, and I would describe it as one for the book and plant lovers. I created a cozy book nook, an inviting bathroom, a candle making room, as well as everything a sim would need to call it a home. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always I'll put a link to the build as well as to all creators I mentioned in the description box down below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye bye!